They built an entire subdivision on my land, 97 houses, a fancy clubhouse, tennis courts, the whole suburban dream, and I watched them do it for 2 years straight, never saying a word. 67 million bucks sunk into land they never even owned, and here's the cherry on top. The woman behind it all stood up at a town meeting, looked me dead in the eye, and called me trailer trash. Told the whole room people like me didn't deserve prime real estate. Yeah, that happened. But I guess she never figured I was playing chess while she was playing house. Picture this. I'm standing out there, diesel fumes stinging my nose, watching cement trucks pour the foundation for their community center, boots crunching on the same gravel my grandfather laid down in 52 hands, tracing the old fence line, thinking these folks have no idea they're building their dreams on a powder keg. And when the day finally came and I dropped my ace, the original deed yellowed and ironclad, the room went so quiet you could hear hearts breaking. What would you do if you found 97 families built their dreams on your land? Drop a comment, let me know. Hell, I want to see how far this story travels. Name Sage Hendress. 3 years back, my wife Sarah passed away from cancer, left me all alone on 240 acres of the best farmland in Millbrook County. My grandfather bought it in '52. $800 and a handshake, and that land's been the heart of my family ever since. I'm not fancy, retired electrician, raise heritage, chickens take my coffee black, and my mornings quiet, just the smell of hay and the feel of rough old fence posts under my palms. My kids are off in California chasing their own lives, and truth is I liked my buff Orpingtons better than most people anyway. Then Dolores Whitmore shows up. She called herself Dee, climbing out of a blinding white Escalade like she was the queen of Millbrook, blonde hair, wound tight eyes sharp, a clipboard in her hand like a badge of authority. She talked big about transforming rural communities and maximizing underutilized assets. The asset she wanted, of course, was my land. First time she showed up, I was mending fence, her heels clicking on my gravel like a countdown. "Mr. Hendress, this land is wasted on someone like you," she said, waving those manicured hands toward my chicken coops. "Just imagine executive homes, a real community." That little pause, someone like you told me everything I needed to know. I said no polite as I could. 6 months later, a city inspector shows up waving anonymous complaints about my septic. Suddenly, I'm facing 12 grand in upgrades. That same day, I spotted Dee's Escalade at City Hall. The inspector dodged my questions like a kid caught with candy, but the real gut punch came a year later. I'm out checking the fence one crisp October morning, dead leaves and wood smoke in the air, when I see orange survey flags staked every 50 yards. Whitmore Heights 97 executive homes. My heart about hammered out of my chest. I drove to the courthouse so fast my truck was knocking like a bad blues riff. Turns out Dee had filed paperwork claiming my acres were abandoned property using some buried county ordinance about land use declarations. Legal notices sent to the wrong address. Pure coincidence, right? Since I never responded, the county handed her development rights by default. "Ethel," the clerk who's been there forever pulls me aside, "Marcus, this stinks worse than a pig farm in August. But she's got rights on paper." "Development rights aren't ownership," I said. "Good luck proving it matters." Ethel told me, voice low. That night, I sat in my kitchen across from Sarah's empty chair, coyotes howling outside. I could spend years fighting in court, or I could get creative. See, most people don't get how land works out here. You can have every permit in the world, but if you don't own the dirt, you're building on quicksand. So I made a decision. Let Dee build her empire. The deeper she dug, the harder her fall. The construction started 3 weeks later. Ribbon-cutting mayor, county commissioners. The local paper Dee's standing there, all teeth and power suit, scissors gleaming, babbling about prosperity. I watched from my porch, coffee in hand, while chainsaws tore into century-old oaks my grandfather planted. Each crack felt like losing a piece of him, but I kept busy, photographed every truck logged, every delivery, every labor crew. My old buddy Jake the electrician taught me document everything because memories fade, but spreadsheets don't lie. By week 3, they'd cleared 40 acres, foundation poured. Each morning I walked that site like a general digital camera in hand. And digging through public records thanks to Sarah's cousin in planning, I found Dee had skipped the required environmental review, claimed it was already zoned residential. Except my lands had agricultural protection since '62. She even claimed there weren't any wetlands, but I'd watched blue herons nest there for 15 years. And the real kicker, she was marketing estate homes on pristine farmland using my land's history to hike up prices by 40%. The community's reaction? Well, my neighbors who'd always waved started crossing the street. At Murphy's Diner, conversations died when I walked in. The waitress who called me Han barely looked at me. That was the least of it. Dee started pushing to drive me out. Anonymous letters about property taxes. City inspectors came back again and again. Chicken coop was a hazard barn, needed certification driveway, not up to code. Then she organized a community safety meeting to talk about undesirable elements. Me, obviously. Only reason I knew was Jennifer Walsh, a retired teacher, tipped me off. She didn't say your name, Jennifer said, but everyone knew. My instinct was to storm over, but I remembered Sarah's old saying, anger is just intelligence leaving your mouth. So I made calls, talked to a property lawyer, not to hire, just advice. He explained adverse possession means nothing if you've got the deed and never left. Any improvements? They're mine. By month 6, first model home was done. I watched the Johnsons tour the place, signing papers with Dee, not a clue she didn't own it. That night I lay awake thinking about the families who'd lose everything. But phase 1 sold out and Dee pushed for 30 more homes and a country club worth of amenities. Her brochures even showed my spring-fed pond as the community water feature. My jaw dropped. But I kept collecting evidence. Jake Morrison, the foreman, let slip over coffee. She's in deep, bankers all over. She's mortgaged everything. Her HOA rules: no livestock, no barns, 50,000 mandatory landscaping designed to make life hell for me. Then I noticed the insurance claims for vandalism. Fresh paint, new equipment, but no real damage. My brother-in-law said fraud leaves a paper trail. I photographed every so-called repair. It was obvious. Meanwhile, families moved in and the Johnsons invited me to their housewarming. Standing in a yard that legally belonged to me, flipping burgers, I couldn't decide if I was the villain or the hero. And Dee's empire was cracking complaints about the HOA fines for wrong-colored roses, trash cans out too long. I screenshot every post. Then came the twist. A county inspector's report said my well was supplying water for the whole subdivision. Dee never secured water rights. She thought she could tap my well forever. Water and land are separate without paperwork. She'd built $60 million of houses with no legal water. Things got nastier. Flyers calling me dangerous animal control called on my chickens. Murphy's Diner banned me after 30 years. The evidence pile was growing. Dee thought she was hunting me. Really, she was marching straight into my trap. By fall, she was being crowned Developer of the Year, but her sloppiness was showing. Public records exposed her brother-in-law on the Planning Commission $15,000 in campaign donations to the county board. I hired Sarah Noel, a property rights lawyer, and her eyes lit up when she saw my file. "Let her finish digging before you bury her," she said. Sandra Kim, an environmental attorney, confirmed Dee had violated habitat laws, a nuclear option if needed. But Dee's real mistake: money laundering insurance claims billed to her own shell companies, washing hundreds of thousands right under everyone's nose. This wasn't just dirty business, it was federal crime territory. Contractors whispered about unpaid invoices, state investigators started circling, and her site became a circus of panic. And then, on a bitter December morning, I finally went through Sarah's old papers and found it the original deed from 1952. Not just land, but water rights, mineral rights, and a line that stopped my heart. Cannot be subdivided or developed without written consent of all heirs. The county's adverse possession case was void. The development had never been legal. Title insurance panicked, offering me millions to settle. But it got even better. The surveyor found part of the subdivision was built on Army Corps of Engineers wetlands. Now federal law trumped everything. Sarah Noel laid it out, multiple violations leveraged from every angle. The power was mine. We set up a legal structure to protect the homeowner's title. Insurance covered their claims, escrow for relocation, or the option to buy their lots from me at cost. I wanted to stop Dee, not ruin innocent families. The final week, Dee's goons slashed my mailbox, sabotaged my well, harassed me at every turn. But my evidence was airtight photos, videos, even an attempted bribe captured on tape. Social media was ablaze with fake accounts trashing my name, all traced to Dee's office. Meanwhile, her finances imploded, banks threatening foreclosure, bankruptcy lawyers circling the HOA split into feuding camps. Then Patricia Valdez, a whistleblower from the planning office, handed over proof of bribery and falsified permits. The corruption was deeper than I thought. The Army Corps stepped in, shut down all construction, and the political fallout started, officials lawyering up newspapers, screaming for resignations. The day of the big ceremony, Dee still tried to play queen, breaking ground with the mayor, TV crews, and the whole county watching. I walked up deed in hand and told the crowd, "This development sits on my land, built without permission, and every dime was invested illegally." Cameras caught everything. Dee lost it, screaming about conspiracy, waving her shovel like a sword. That's when the FBI and EPA agents stepped in right on cue. Federal indictments came fast: fraud, conspiracy, environmental crimes. My lawsuit settled for millions. The families got to stay or relocate safely. The wetlands were restored, herons came back, and for the first time in years I could hear birds instead of bulldozers. Jennifer Walsh took over the HOA, tossed out Dee's petty rules, and the town came together to rebuild the right way. Dee got 4 years in federal prison and restitution. Her development career over. Our story went national, property rights groups, new laws, even a scholarship in Sarah's name. The land's thriving, honest this time, school kids learning about conservation, families building a real community. So tell me, if it were your land, what would you have done? Drop a comment, share your story, and hey, if you want to hear how a mayor almost stole a whole lake with a fishing license, hit subscribe, because that one's next. Justice isn't about revenge. It's about making sure this never happens again.